I'm sitting here with Alan K. Rohde, the director and treasurer of the Film Noir Foundation.
Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you as well. Can you tell me a little bit about film noir, what it is?
Film noir is like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. It is to me, it is a style of film that came about in America before and after World War II, kind of when Hollywood and America grew up after World War II. And of course it took the French to give the name to an American style of film. But I think film noir, what's different about it, it is elusive by its very nature. And I'm reminded by that Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart, who back in the day when they were trying to define obscenity, and he said, "I know it when I see it." So film noir, to me, I know it when I see it, and it's not a genre of film like comedies or musicals or Western. It is a style, it is a feel, and there's certain tropes that go along with it, but it is a style of film that started back in the late 30s, early 40s, and then particularly after World War II. And now it's spread its antecedents, and now you see noir everywhere. Noir has become a marketing tool. You have noir fiction and noir perfume, and it's gotten to the point where I think some people think that if it's a black and white movie, it has to be film noir. But be that as it may, film noir is a style, and I think the reason there's been such a renaissance of film noir over the last decade and a half, 2 decades, is because even though people, younger people not from that era and not from my era, because I grew up watching these movies on television before cable TV and internet and all of this, but I think that people recognize the motivating factors in a good film noir story: lust, larceny, greed, and it goes back to Barbara Stanwyck and Fred MacMurray in Double Indemnity in 1944. As she put it to him, "We're going to ride that trolley car to the end of the line." And I think people are moved by that, and they may see people wearing funny fedoras and a doctor in a hospital smoking a cigarette and chuckle over that because that's so incongruous with modern society. But the writing and the stories deal with the basic vagaries of human behavior, and I don't think that's changed very much.
Yes, that's timeless.
Right, exactly.
So what attracted you to film noir?
I think I have it in my DNA. I grew up, my mother's stepfather, my grandfather came to Hollywood in 1922. He was a musical director at Universal and a bit player. And so my mother's side of the family was involved in movies and the movie industry in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So I grew up hearing about Bela Lugosi and Carole Lombard and all of these, and then watching the movies on TV. So I went on to many different things in my career, but I always came back to this, and I always had a connectivity with noir from the time of watching a movie like DOA on the family Philco old TV and sneaking down at night.
Not on your laptop?
No laptops in there. You know, a laptop in those days, that's when you held a child or a cat on your lap. There were no computers. Yeah. But I think it's always been there in me. And so I got to a certain point in my life where I started writing about film and so forth. And then I met Eddie Muller here in 1999 when they had the first year of the festival that is ongoing now. We call it Noir City. Back then it was called the Annual Festival of Film Noir. And Eddie and I started talking about film noir and never stopped. So the Film Noir Foundation, of which he is the president, I'm the director-treasurer, and we've grown from a grassroots organization to, we now have film festivals in 8 cities, including our flagship festival in San Francisco, which is the best attended film noir festival in the world. We have a monthly magazine, we have products. It's kind of overwhelming how this has grown. And but it all starts with the movies. I mean, the people that come to the movies, they come because they dig the movies. And, you know, even though Eddie may introduce the movie and I'm going to be hosting the shows next week, and I know a lot about films and I've written books, but It's really about the movies, and that's what draws people to these festivals and to this festival.
Well, it seems pretty cool because you're bringing back something and restoring it. What is that process like?
Torturous. It is not a process that lends itself to speed. It is finding a viable film and then finding, are there elements? Is there a negative? Is there a print? And then going out and gathering all of that material, working with our partners at the UCLA and Film and Television Archive.
When you say gathering all the material, does that mean they're all over the place?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah. This particular film that we're going to be screening tonight, Woman on the Run, yes. This particular film was restored, and we had elements from an archive here, and the British Film Institute provided some stuff. So this stuff, these materials are all over the place. Then once you get that, then you have to figure out who owns the rights to this. And then you have to deal with the various rights holders and copyright law and all of this. And so it's not a process that lends itself to, you know, boom, all right, let's do this, and you make a right face like you're in the military, and off you go. It's fairly complex, but we've had a great deal of success. We've restored a number of really important films like Cry Danger, 1951, The Prowler with Van Heflin and Evelyn Keyes, Try and Get Me, a whole number of films. And in addition, due to the relationships that we've developed with people at the studios, we have kind of facilitated the studios and the rights holders making prints of films that have disappeared and fallen between the cracks. So a lot of this, and as you probably know, the film business and this type of business, no matter what end of it or part of it you're at, it's all based on personal relationships.
Yes.
So when you develop those relationships, you're able to get a lot of things done, and you know, I'm proud that we've been able to do these things.
Well, congratulations. Can you talk a little bit more about the films that you're featuring this year, which was Women on the Run and The Guilty?
Yeah, The Woman on the Run, that was a independently produced film starring Dennis O'Keefe and the great Ann Sheridan. And Ann Sheridan actually was one of the producers and put money into this film. And it was directed by Norman Foster, and Norman Foster was an actress. Norman Foster was an actor, and he turned to directing. He directed several of the Mr. Moto films, but this film is very unique because it was filmed almost entirely on location in San Francisco, even though there is a little bit of Bunker Hill in the beginning of the film, but most of it is in San Francisco. It's very well written, well paced, and it's a hidden gem. The Guilty is one of these films that was made in 1947 by Monogram, and this is one of these low-budget, Poverty Row films that Hollywood cranked out like shirt buttons in the 40s, and it is based on a Cornell Woolrich short story. And it's one of these films where there's a lot of talk, because as some movie producer once said, talk is cheap and action is expensive. So you see the same 3 or 4 sets of a street, a bar, a bedroom, a house, and the protagonist talking to the different characters, and it's really a Cornell Woolrich short story mystery to its core, and it's a very, very interesting and worthy film. And again, this was a film that completely disappeared. It was on DVD in very bad 16mm transfers. And one of the things I think the Film Noir Foundation is doing is we're not just preserving films, we're preserving the experience of seeing the film in its natural state in the dark with an audience in a movie theater, and I think that's important.
And a little piece of history as well.
Absolutely.
So can you tell me what is the plan for next year's films? What are you guys looking at? We're
looking at an Argentinian film. In fact, this festival we're showing several Argentinian films that we have restored. One of it that we had a new print struck of last year that we are showing this year is called The Black Vampire, and it is a very powerful film. It is the 3rd version of M, the great film that was made by Fritz Lang in 1931. And then Joseph Losey did an American version shot in Bunker Hill, downtown LA in 1951 about a child murderer and the combination of official and vigilante justice seeking him out. And this movie, The Black Vampire, was made in Buenos Aires. It's in Spanish, it's subtitled, and it has to do with, again, a child murderer, but this time it has to do with a female nightclub dancer and prostitutes involved in uncovering this murderer who travels in the sewer system under Buenos Aires. So I think the point is that film noir is not just an American phenomenon, it is a universal style. Yes. And as we're going on, we are finding these movies in different archives in Buenos Aires, in Britain, in France, and elsewhere. So you're going to start seeing more of the international noir flavor.
That's exciting. You guys are like detectives.
Exactly right. It's exactly
like
right. You know, when we find these films, I feel akin to a paleontologist that finds a rare dinosaur when these films are uncovered, and that sense of excitement is visceral, and it keeps us all going.
Great. Well, congratulations for all the hard work and all the success you've had, and thank you for sharing a little bit of film noir history and information with me.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.